Hello guys. So as promised, today we start the journey of DevOps IaC. So this will be the first introductory video in this course. So in this video I'll be basically talking about what previous software development models were, why DevOps came into picture, what is the difference between DevOps and other software development lifecycle models, and how it got integrated with IaC. So that is what we are going to talk about today. And before going ahead, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would request you to subscribe my channel so that you can get your questions answered. Remember, answers will be provided to those who are subscribers, not to those who are simply following the videos. So if you want your questions to be answered, if you want to get the notifications on upcoming videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the bell icon as well to get the notifications. So let's get started quickly. So now, before talking anything about DevOps, we need to understand how DevOps came into picture. So before DevOps, the software development life cycles, there were different methodologies used, which were waterfall and agile. So now what is SDLC? What are SDLC stages? Now, software development lifecycle means the complete lifecycle of developing a software. So there are different stages to it. Like the very first stage is to get the customer requirement. Once you have gathered the complete requirements, once you are ready with the requirements, business analysts, they used to sit, they used to decide on okay what the design will be. The complete designing phase used to happen then, which was the second stage. Once it has been designed, once and planning used to happen. So planning as in what particular tools will be used, what so programming languages will be used, what infrastructure will be used, what will be the initial application diagram for it. So almost all the high level documentation and the complete architectural design that used to happen in the design and planning phase, in the design and planning stage. So then came the build stage, where the development of application used to happen, the complete coding used to happen. So once the development was done, then came the testing stage, when the application was tested for bugs, for errors, for even for user acceptance. So testing used to happen. Once the testing was completed successfully, everything runs fine, then it was deployed, then it was made live. Once the go live happened, so now when go live has happened, so there might some bugs come, there might some issues come up when it is in the end user hands, when the product is in the hands of end user. So that is where the maintenance phase came into picture, the maintenance stage came into picture. So these were the different stages of SDLC. Now, to follow all these stages, there were different methodologies. There are different methodologies used. One is waterfall, other is agile, and then we have DevOps. So DevOps is currently, like, it's becoming very famous and very widely used. So we will learn why it has come up into picture and why it is so famous and how it goes hand in hand with IaC. Because we are infrastructure guys. Why do we bother about SDLC lifecycle stages? We'll look into that. Now let's go ahead with waterfall model. So waterfall methodology. Waterfall methodology, there used to be sequential steps to complete the stages. Sequential steps, the linear steps, as in the complete software development was divided into phases. So for every stage of life cycle, there used to be phases. They used to be divided into phases. Like one phase was completely dedicated to requirement gathering, maybe of 1 month. Once that 1 month has finished, requirement gathering is completed, then we used to move to next phase. Next phase was design, when the complete designing used to happen, the IAD, the planning programming of almost have what language will be used, what infrastructure will be used, what will be the high level design, all the documentations. The design stage used to cover that. So once the design stage is done, that phase is complete. Then we used to move ahead with build stage. So this was the way we used to come up to the final stage of making the application live. So remember, the entire application development was divided into phases according to the stages. So there was no going back. Like once requirement gathering phase is completed, then design stage used to come, the design phase used to come. When you are in design phase, if customer comes with a new requirement, the new requirements were not included, they were not considered, because we have already completed that phase and we have now moved to design stage. As the name suggests, waterfall model, it used to come towards the bottom, it didn't went backward. So this was the biggest gap, this was the biggest, we can say, the biggest issue with this model, because we never bothered about going back. Even if customer, we consider, if I'm not wrong, we consider customer as god. Even if he is coming with some changes, even suppose tomorrow he says I need this feature as well, then in this particular model we didn't take them into consideration till our complete application, which we have already planned, was completely live. So now think about providing the entire application to the customer. You will say that okay, it will take 1 year of time. Now you have divided the phases, you are into almost, maybe if I am not wrong, you are into test stage, suppose 7 months down the line. Then customer comes with a new change, some new feature. You say stop, let me first finish up the initial product. Once you have finished it, you used to provide that end product to customer. Then for iterating, for including new changes, you used to iterate through all the stages again in linear fashion. So the time required to deliver the end product was too long, because we used to focus on the entire product and divide the complete life cycle into different phases according to the stages. So to eradicate this issue, Agile came into picture. Now, what was in Agile? Why it was so good as compared to Waterfall? In Agile, it was combination of iterative and incremental process. Here, phases were not, the entire SDLC, the application development was not divided into phases. It was divided according to features. So if there is a complete application package, then it used to be divided into different features. Suppose if we talk about IRCTC application, then one feature was to book the ticket, one feature was to check what transactions has happened, one feature was to check if you have cancelled the ticket, to cancel the ticket, one feature was to check PNR status, one feature was to check train live running status. So all these were divided into small projects, and the product used to be delivered in feature wise iterations. Like you can say that okay, customer has come up with this particular application, this is one feature which I will deliver to you within a month's time. So all the stages of software development life cycle, they used to happen within that 1 month, which means planning, designing, requirement and testing, development, they used to happen hand in hand. Customer feedback was the topmost priority in this. Customer was always kept in loop. So he was involved in every feature release. So there there were iterations of application feature release. So that made Agile so quickly adaptive, so flexible that came it became most widely used methodology. So now still there was one gap left. If we talk about uh, development and operations team. Now, development team used to completely develop the application. It used to run fine in their machines. But when they used to send it to testing teams, the test used to happen. Maybe some errors used to come running fine in developer machine, but not running fine in testers. So there was this gap and there were some clash. There were many clashings which used to happen between them. So there was this big gap between them, the operations and the infra and the application development teams. So if we talk about operations, there are many things involved in that. Application support, the testing, the infrastructure part, almost everything. So there were developers were not at all bothered about what is going on in operations team. They were just bothered about that, okay, this is the code, this should be tested and feedback should come. If it is running fine in my environment, it should run fine in their environment. So there was this gap. So DevOps came to bridge this gap. Now, how? DevOps thrives in automation. So maximum level of automation is the main focus area of DevOps. So DevOps is software development methodology which looks to integrate all the software development functions from development to operations within the same cycle. DevOps combines software development and software operations principle with the goal of helping organizations develop products with greater speed and efficiency. As we have bridged the gap, we are trying to automate maximum. Automate maximum as in now when the developer checks in his code, automatically build happens, automatically test happens. Now who does that? Who does that automation part? DevOps does that automation part. DevOps gathers the requirement from testing guys. Okay, these are the test cases. Test cases. So he integrates them in that automation framework, and then the entire automation happens of CI/CD. So DevOps is an approach that focuses on bringing the development and operations team together. This is the main and very important point to obtain products and services with maximum efficiency and quality. DevOps initiates on automating as much as possible, as I said, using multiple tools. Just like waterfall model, DevOps too has a number of stages. In other words, DevOps is a sibling of Agile. How? It is completely following the Agile methodology. It is just making sure the end-to-end software engineering, bridging the gap between development and operations. Now, why exactly do we need DevOps? Why it is becoming so famous? Even in infrastructure wise, it's becoming so famous. So just think about now, almost every industry is moving to automation. So automation is the primary focus for almost all the companies. To do manual job, to do the manual maintenance, so the manpower is required in big force. There are many manual hours involved. Almost hundreds, thousands of people are involved in bigger projects. So all those things are, all those manual hours are almost cut to more than 50% by introduction of DevOps, by introduction of automation. A very small team can take responsibility of very huge environment. So how it is it becoming that possible? How it is becoming possible? because DevOps tries to bring two, it's like we can say there is an old saying, cat and dog always fight. So it is trying to bring cat and dog together. Just a joke. So it is trying to bring development and operations to in under one umbrella, where efficiency will increase and the complete software engineering process will speed up. So now let's just see some differences between agile and DevOps, because our main focus is DevOps. Let's just compare it with agile. So what is agile? Agile focuses on bridging the gap between customer and the between the client and the service provider, or the between the service provider and the client, by by considering repetitive feedbacks in very short span of time. So it bridges the gap between customer and the service provider. Now, what is DevOps? DevOps bridges the gap between operations and development teams. The name itself says DevOps, development operations. Purpose: Agile helps to manage complex projects. DevOps central concept is to manage end-to-end engineering process, as we discussed. So that is why their implementation is also a bit different. Agile method can be implemented with a range of tactical frameworks like Sprint, Safe, and Scrum. Primary goal of DevOps is to focus on collaboration, so it doesn't have any commonly accepted framework. Team skill set: Agile development emphasizes training all team members to have wide variety of similar and equal skills. DevOps divides and spreads the skill set between the development and operations team. Target areas of them: software development and DevOps, end-to-end business solution, and faster delivery. So, okay, we discussed about waterfall, we discussed about agile, we discussed about DevOps, we discussed about the difference between agile and DevOps. Now, being infrastructure guys, how IaC and DevOps, they go together. Now, for that we have to understand first what is IaC. Infrastructure as a code is a concept of making your operations environment in the same way you do applications or other code for general release. Rather than manually making configuration changes or using scripts to make infrastructure adjustments, IT infrastructure is managed instead using the same rules that are followed for code development, particularly when new server instances are spun up. Let's break it up. Now, in this fast moving environment, in this automation world, we are even trying to automate our infrastructure deployment, infrastructure management, Windows patch management. Nowadays, we are not bothered about creating a big team just for patch management, who will every quarter handle patching the Windows servers, taking almost 200 to 300 manual hours. Now we try to automate that either using scripts or using third-party tools like Ansible, like Chef, like Puppet. That is what we try to do. So, which reduces those manual hours. Maybe if it used to take almost 1 month to complete the patching for all the servers in environment, now it takes hardly a week, because everything is automated. So we are trying to even spin up the infrastructure using code. We are trying to maintain the infrastructure using code. So code is even in infrastructure now, through scripts or through third party, or through the scripts of third party tools. In Ansible terms we talk playbook, in Chef terms we talk cookbook, in Puppet we talk manifests. So we try to automate everything. So code is there, infrastructure, that's why infrastructure as code. So when there is code, we have to follow some principles for testing of the code, for releasing of the code, for deploying the code. So that is when we need software development lifecycle stages. And when those stages comes into picture, DevOps practice comes into picture, because DevOps thrives in maximum possible automation. That is how IaC and DevOps goes hand in hand. Without IaC, DevOps is not there. So why IaC? Because it reduces so many manual hours, where even those are very much error prone, very inefficient. So we are making them highly efficient. We are reducing the manual hours. So where we used to have a very big team for just patch management, we have just few guys to automate that. This is the reason why IaC has become so famous. And as everything is through code, code has come into picture. We need DevOps practice for that. So DevOps won't be possible without IaC. The core best practices of DevOps, like version control, virtualized test, and continuous monitoring, are applied to underlying code that governs the creation and management of your infrastructure. In other words, your infrastructure is treated the same way that any other code would be. Because when there is code, there is version control, right? So that is why DevOps methodology is required. As code is in picture, so to follow proper coding principles, to follow proper practices around the code, DevOps helps us to create that mindset which can make life easier. So in a nutshell, we will say DevOps is not a tool, it's not any software, it's not any particular it's not particular tool or a software to learn. It is a mindset which we need to inculcate. It is a practice that we follow. It is a methodology which has come into picture now. Remember these words. It is not a tool or a software. It is a mindset. The mindset which you have to think about automation. So DevOps thrives on automation. Now, the most important part, who can take this course? Everyone who has even a little bit knowledge on infrastructure, because there will be some basics on AWS that will be covered, so that the course goes very smoothly. You are able to understand what I am teaching. So that is why I'll be covering some basics of AWS and Azure. So need not worry about that. If you are afraid of coding, if you think that the courses those are available in market, they are not for you, because there are testing tools involved. They say that you need to know Java, you need to know .NET. Just shut them up and follow this course with me. You will be in very good position after finishing this course. You will be completely upskilled. So once again, I'll tell you, please subscribe my channel, so that, and also please hit the bell icon so that you can get the notifications on upcoming videos. This is the very first video on the very first module, which is Introduction to DevOps, and how it goes hand in hand with IaC. So from next module, we will start some infrastructure basics on cloud, starting with AWS and Azure.